This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Halifax's head start. Amid the trade war, a look at how the city has been taking the lead on buying local.
Ditching the carbon tax, where Nova Scotians will see a difference starting next month.
And invasive species. Scientists gather over the discovery of a single zebra mussel in the Maritimes.
Lingering showers and flurries for Thursday evening into the overnight. Friday, a quiet start, then another front coming through with a few showers and a cooler shot to start the weekend. Your full forecast is coming up.
The ongoing trade war with the United States has many Canadians looking to buy local.
It turns out the city of Halifax has a head start on that, with nearly all of its dollars staying right here in the country.
In fact, Halifax is among the least vulnerable cities in Canada when it comes to American tariffs. The CBC's Haley Ryan explains.
Like many Canadians, the Halifax municipality has taken a look at where it's spending money amid the trade war with the United States. Halifax staff recently told councillors 99.2% of the city's purchases are within Canada, about $452 million. Only 0.5%, or $2.5 million, goes to the U.S.
I applauded that, and I think we should applaud that.
Those American purchases are mostly software, some e-books for the library system, and bus parts. Staff say most of those items can only come from the U.S., but they will start assigning points to Canadian companies that could give them an edge in procurement.
95% or more of what we buy is within Canada. We just don't know where those products come from. So we can certainly build that into future tenders going forward.
The Canadian Chamber of Commerce recently ranked cities across the country on how vulnerable they are to American tariffs. Number 1 was St. John, New Brunswick, with Calgary and Windsor, Ontario in the top 3. Halifax came 35th of the 41 cities.
Relatively low, but that doesn't mean there's no impact. It just means it's not going to be perhaps quite as dire as it would be in Windsor or St. John or Montreal.
But Wendy Luther of the Halifax Partnership says the sheer uncertainty around when and if tariffs come in has impacted local businesses.
Now and already, because of the volatility. So companies pausing hiring decisions and investment decisions because of the volatility.
Despite the uncertainty, the trade war has brought some bright spots. The Halifax Convention Centre told CBC they have seen a recent spike in Canadian groups and businesses booking conferences and events here. Luther says they are hearing from American companies and professionals still looking to set up shop in Halifax. They're drawn by a low Canadian dollar and the city's strategy of prioritizing people and the environment.
That's a big part why we're still seeing everything from conferences or businesses who are still interested in Halifax and Nova Scotia and Canada. It's because we live and work by our values.
Haley Ryan, CBC News, Halifax.
Premier Tim Houston says it's still unclear if the new 25% U.S. tariff hitting Canada's auto industry will have an impact on Michelin tire operations in this province. The tariffs are expected to take effect April the 2nd.
There's still a lot of uncertainty about, where the tariffs apply. There's still, I believe, some uncertainty as to how much the tariffs would be, but certainly, Michelin is an incredible employer in this province, has been a great community, corporate citizen for this province and does really good things we're grateful for their presence here. So we do anything that's possible within the government's ability to support them in their efforts, but we don't. There's not full clarity on the tariffs, where they will land.
Almost 4,000 people are employed between Michelin's operations in Bridgewater, Waterville, and Pictou.
The deeply unpopular carbon tax is going to be removed for consumers within the next few days. The tax will disappear on April 1st. You might be wondering what difference this is going to make for you. The CBC's Gareth Hampshire has been looking into this.
It will be here at the gas stations when people are filling up that they'll notice the most obvious difference when the carbon tax is gone on April 1st. That price drop will happen immediately, and it will be significant. The latest projections for gasoline are that prices will drop nearly 18 cents a litre. and about 21 cents for diesel. And because the harmonized sales tax is also dropping a percentage point on the same day, that will amount to a couple more cents off each litre. So filling up a 50-litre tank would cost about $10 less.
Every month I try and sort of make a budget of how much gas is going to be for me this month and how much groceries are going to be and so on and so forth. So this is definitely going to help, lessen the gas bill a little bit. So that it always helps. Yeah, even if it's $10 or $15 a month, it still helps.
He mentioned groceries as another concern there. It is harder to say what impact the elimination of the carbon tax will have on the price of food. Experts like Sylvain Charlebois have found it difficult to correlate retail prices with the tax, and a lot of food companies are still paying the industrial carbon tax within the food supply chain. And because of US tariffs, stores are bringing more goods from other countries further away, like South Africa. That's actually increasing the carbon footprint, costing more money, and that could drive up prices for some things. But there are other areas people will benefit. The elimination of this tax will make a big difference for small business owners, in particular, those in the hospitality industry.
Us personally, in propane and natural gas costs, we pay a couple $100 a week in carbon tax. So that's money left directly in our pockets, which is definitely go a long way in this day.
However, while some of the cost savings are clear, there are some concerns the Canadian Federation of Independent Business is still trying to figure out.
Well, there's really two main issues here. The first is small businesses there's no clarity on if they will receive that last and final rebate or not. They received the rebate for the 2023-2024 fiscal year, but there's no clarity on whether they'll receive for this past year, which is a concern.
And because the carbon tax is being scrapped, that will also put an end to the quarterly rebates people have been receiving. The last payment will be in April and is estimated at $220 for a family of 4 in Nova Scotia. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
Sentencing for 2 of the 4 teens charged in the death of Ahmad Al-Marak has been delayed. The 4 were charged following an attack at Ahmad Al-Marak on a parkade at the Halifax shopping centre last April. He was stabbed in the chest and died later in hospital. 2 of the teens have pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Lawyers for one of them was in court to ask for an extension to allow time to prepare a report for an IRCS sentence. That is an intensive, rehabilitative, custodial, and supervision sentence, similar to the one requested by the only girl to take part in the attack. And earlier this week, the teen who actually stabbed Al-Marak asked for a delay in his sentencing. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and his sentencing will begin in July.
Police are investigating after fishing nets used for fishing baby eels were stolen earlier this week. As part of their investigation, the RCMP obtained these images of a person or persons of interest and are asking for the public's help to identify them. They say the theft happened on the Ingram Port River near Rivers End Road. 2 Elver fishing nets were taken sometime in the early morning hours. The nets have an estimated value of $4,000. And Ryan Snoddon with us now for our first quick look at the weather forecast.
Yes, and a snowy, slushy Thursday morning commute.
Yeah, but the melt is on already, Tom and Amy. Thanks so much. And melting will continue for Friday. Thankfully, getting some help here for sure. As we can see, temperatures on Friday going to be jumping up into the 5, 6, 7, even 8 degree range with those southwest winds, which will eventually shift to the west and northwest into the later stages of the day as some colder air starts to spill in. And that's going to reset our temperatures. And it is going to be a pretty chilly start to the weekend. So want to soak up that little taste of spring again for Friday. Now, that lingering trough overhead for tonight will throw some showers, changing over to a pretty good chance for flurries overnight as those temperatures do cool. And then some sunshine in the mix for Friday. We'll call it a mix of sun and cloud, at least for the early stages of the day. And then this frontal boundary does work through from west to east throughout the afternoon. So if you're heading out in the afternoon, make sure you grab the umbrella. We will see some showers moving through. A wind shift, as I said, and then those temperatures really cooling off into Saturday. And yeah, Saturday afternoon, maybe a few more flakes flying in the southwest of the province. We'll talk about that and your full 7-day forecast coming up in a couple of minutes.
Things remain active, don't they?
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
You.
The New Brunswick government has begun analyzing data into a mystery brain disease that has affected hundreds of people in the last several years. Although the Nova Scotia government says they have not been notified of any individual cases, they believe some patients are from this province. The New Brunswick government is trying to determine whether environmental substances such as heavy metals and pesticides are a factor. In 2021, they started investigating 48 patients with neurological symptoms of unknown origin. And since then, more than 400 people have reported symptoms such as intense pain and muscle spasms. In total, 50 people have died. The analysis of over 200 patient files is expected to be completed by this summer.
Diverse flags will now be allowed to be flown outside South Shore Regional Centre for Education schools again after a directive was issued to only fly Canada and Nova Scotia flags outdoors. The centre's regional director, Angela Gladwin, said in a statement, their intention has always been to show respect for the flags and banners that are flown at our schools. But it made the decision to reverse the directive after concerns were raised by the public. The centre says the directive was made to get a better understanding of flag protocols, and the centre was in the process of replacing damaged flags when it was sent. Well, the discovery of a single zebra mussel in the Maritimes has triggered a meeting of scientists and researchers from across the country.
They're looking at how the invasive species could impact waterways in the region and what can be done to slow down its spread. The CBC's Shane Fowler reports.
In December of 2024, researchers found something that they'd been bracing for. Stuck to the underside of these floating docks, they found one single zebra mussel. Just the size of a fingernail, that mollusk could be the harbinger of what's to come.
But where did it come from and why has it alarmed scientists? For that, we have to travel upriver about 300 kilometers to Lake Timisquata. Back in 2022, the first invasive zebra mussel populations were found here, likely as hitchhikers from the bottom of a recreational boat. But they're just tiny mussels. What's the big deal? According to Quebec's Ministry of Environment, in 2022, there were less than 150 of them found in a square meter. The next year, 2023, the population was measured at 2,500 in that same area. In 2024, colonies had grown to more than 30,000 mussels per square meter. Exponential growth from a highly invasive species.
If they've taken hold in significant numbers, they're almost impossible to eradicate. Then you're in this mode of trying to control them. You cannot eradicate once they're in the system.
In 2023, the first mature zebra mussels were found in New Brunswick, flowing down the Madawaska River and colonizing the headwaters of Edmundston's hydroelectric dam. From there, their larvae or veligers have been carried downstream by the millions.
So basically, there's a certain amount of larvae that is coming from Lake Timisquata. And in 2023, there was 300 million individuals exiting the Madawaska River to go into St. John's River every day.
Last summer, the New Brunswick Invasive Species Council found zebra mussel DNA in water samples taken from the St. John River. And now the discovery of a single adult. Studies elsewhere in Canada have estimated the annual cost of dealing with zebra mussels once they're introduced into a province is in the millions of dollars.
This study was looking at potential impacts to hydropower, agriculture, irrigation, municipal water supplies, recreational boating, tourism, and property values. And the updated estimate, it ranges from between $64 to $129 million annually if they were to be introduced into BC.
Researchers don't know how quickly zebra mussels will spread. Variables like water flow rates, calcium content, and surface areas are all factors. All they can do is work to prevent them from hitchhiking on boats from one watershed to another.
The St. John River, yes, things are going to spread through naturally. Or I say things, I mean zebra mussel are going to spread naturally. But the thing that's not naturally going to happen is it getting into the Miramichi River, the Restigouche River, other systems that are not directly connected to the St. John Wolastoq River. So that's going to happen by the help of humans or by the help of things moving in between systems.
Looking pretty nice at Crescent Beach in Lockport, isn't it?
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, we've got Ryan up next with his full weather forecast. Stay with us.
All right. Don't know about anyone else, but a bit of a shock to the system when I opened the door this morning and saw all that white.
Clear off the car, but it slid down.
I
pretty
know.
Easy,
it was an
didn't
easy
it?
cleanup.
Yeah, the boys were like, "Why are you cleaning off the top of the car?" And I said, "Get in." We drove like 6 feet, and then I hit the brakes, and it all went down over the. So that's why we clean off the top of the car.
Exactly.
Lesson learned.
But it's melting.
It's melting, and not just the humans that are happy to see the snow melting. Have a look at this, and if you look closely, you'll see a little songbird there, a little swallow.
Okay.
On the left
you're right.
side of the
Oh,
birdhouse.
it's like, what happened to my house?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Where's the shovel?
You flew back too early. Antigonish from Daryl. And yeah, Antigonish, one of the hot spots for snowfall
They got quite
overnight
a bit.
tonight. Yeah, absolutely. Jimtown reporting over 20 centimeters there at the Coco Ross station. Kind of a widespread 2 to 5 with pockets of 5 to 10, but that seemed to be the bullseye there, Antigonish. And also for Cape Breton, kind of a widespread 10 to 15 centimeters. Looked fairly common on the old map from this morning, and thanks to our Coco Ross volunteers as we look at those current temperatures. And you can see at 0 right now in Sydney, it's still 1 on the plus side in through the northeast, and still mild right now at this hour, 4, 5, 6, and even 7 degrees western head down into the southwest of the province. And as we look at those winds, fairly light. Down and through the southwest, though, we are seeing still some sustained winds in around 30 kilometers per hour through Lunenburg, 35 at Yarmouth and Westport as well, and some gusts here in the 30 to 40 kilometer per hour range just on the backside of this low as it does pull away. This is the trough that is going to continue to bring some flurries, some showers. For the most part, this is going to be flurries as those temperatures do continue to drop off, especially here in the northeast, where we'll have our best chance of seeing that over the next couple of hours. That system will continue to kick out. This is the front that we're watching for Friday. That's going to be bringing some showers, and then on the other side of that front, some colder air, bringing us a little reality check that it is indeed still late March, as if you needed another reality check after the snow this morning. But you can see that cold pocket of air. That's what's going to sail in. That'll reset our temperature back to about the freezing mark for Saturday. That's going to be our coolest day of the weekend. So overnight lows tonight are going to be in the -1 to -3 range. Any of those showers will mix over to flurries. The winds are going to become light tonight, so not a big deal for your Friday morning. As we walk you through the timeline, you can see those lingering flurries and showers and could see local amounts of a couple of centimeters, especially higher terrain areas, the Cobequid Pass, that 104 stretch through Mount Tom out towards Pictou, Antigonish County, and into Cape Breton. This is where we could see enough to coat the roads again into the early morning hours of Friday. Elsewhere, temperatures are going to be dropping, as we just saw there, to and below the freezing mark, so things could get a little bit icy, even where it's just been predominantly showers through this afternoon. Again, with those temperatures nearing the freezing mark, be mindful that things could be a bit icy even into the Friday morning time frame. This is the front as it approaches. You can see mild southwest winds ahead of it, and we are looking at that chance for showers, maybe a few wet flakes mixing in as that front does move into the afternoon. Sunshine ahead of it. Cape Breton looking at temperatures 3, 4, 5, even 6 degrees on Friday afternoon. As we move our way into central areas, we'll be looking at temperatures anywhere from 5 to 8 degrees. Again, cooler in those onshore winds. The water temp's still just 2 off the coast from Halifax, and we are looking at temperatures 5, 6, and 7 degrees in the west with that sun breaking through into the afternoon on the other side of this frontal boundary. Now, Saturday, this is the frontal boundary I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, or the last couple of days rather. You can see down here in the south and west, Tri-County area into Queens might see as much as 5, maybe 10 centimeters locally. A sharp cutoff though off to the north and west, just some clouds and maybe a few flakes for Saturday afternoon with temperatures near the freezing mark. And then Sunday night into Monday, going to be watching our next system here. This is going to be bringing some snow, some ice pellets, some freezing rain Sunday night and into Monday morning. By the time we wake up on Monday, we'll have changed to rain, and it will feel a little more like spring, but more messiness in the long-range forecast. So, yeah, we're one step forward, 2 steps back here.
It's busy.
That's the
for
pattern.
Sure. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, legislature wraps. Opposition leader Claudia Chender looks back on a contentious House sitting. The spring session of the legislature has wrapped up. The PC government passed about a dozen pieces of legislation, including bills to increase natural resource development, break down trade barriers, and have the power to fire non-unionized civil servants without cause. Claudia Chender is the NDP leader in Nova Scotia and leader of the official opposition. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, happy to be here.
A lot of people mused about it heading into this session of the legislature, but what it would be like with a PC supermajority in control. What did you see?
Listen, I mean, for us, lots of things were different. So we had a new formation of the government. We were taking our place as the official opposition. But at the end of the day, it's a majority government and we're the opposition. And so our work remains the same, which is to advocate for Nova Scotians and to push the policies that we think are going to make a difference in their lives.
So what did you see as an NDP success in this session? Was there one? Was there a few?
Oh, yeah, I think there were a lot, actually. We were very dogged in making sure that the public was engaged because this was really a surprise agenda, right? We came out of an election that was about healthcare and housing and the cost of living into a legislative session that was about decreased transparency, centralized control, funding control, trying to threaten independent offices. And so we did our job to make sure the public was aware of these changes and the public had their say. And in many, many cases, the government had to back down from some of what we considered the worst parts of their agenda. So we were proud of that work and excited and proud to see the civic engagement among Nova Scotians.
Would some argue that that's the way it should work, that when you bring legislation to the House, the public gets a say and they get perhaps a chance at changing things for the better? So I've heard the Premier say we're listening to people.
Yeah, the public should always have a say, but the public should be engaged at the outset. And in every single instance, we had legislation that impacted independent offices, that impacted universities, that impacted potentially people's water and land. And in every case, there was no public conversation about it before those bills hit the floor of the House, which then caused the government to have to backtrack and rush through consultations. That's not the way legislation should work. Legislation should reflect the will of Nova Scotians. And so the government has to figure out what the will of Nova Scotians is before they put that legislation in, and they did not do their homework. So they were forced to go back and do some of it after the fact, but that's not how we make good legislation.
You alluded to some things that were not part of the election campaign. The Premier has said that the world changed since the election with what's happened south of the border. And so special measures had to be taken. And things like lifting the ban on uranium mining, for example, in the province, putting that on the table. How much credence or how much credibility do you give that kind of point of view, given the really somewhat unique times that we're in?
Well, certainly the world has changed. And we experience a level of threat from south of the border that I don't think anyone fully anticipated. And that means that many of the things that people were concerned about during the election, housing security, cost of living, are even more important to people now.
Do you worry they're getting lost in the shuffle?
Absolutely. And so the idea that, lifting moratoriums on natural resource exploration without any consultation is an immediate address to the tariffs, that's just not true. I mean, even if we have market interests, which we haven't seen in any of the fracking or uranium projects that the government is talking about, this is decades away. What we need is an economic development plan that addresses our needs today.
So what does that plan look like? In your mind, what does that plan look like? If the Premier is saying, others are saying we need to ramp up revenues in this province, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I think people are excited about a Team Nova Scotia approach to economic development and everything else. I think the plan put forward by Susan Holt in New Brunswick to start with an Atlantic Canadian free trade zone is really interesting. I think liberalizing trade across the country is important. We absolutely agree with the need to look at how to do that, but also how to encourage our homegrown industries as we go. We need to be paying a lot of attention to our fishers and making sure that they have new markets and that we're investing in diversifying those markets. We need to look at, in forestry, how can we use a lot of the forestry products that are produced here at home? Could we have a Nova Scotia first approach to wood products, where our wharves and our docks and our shoulders on the highway are built with Nova Scotia lumber? There's lots of opportunities where we can help to buttress our industries here, but also Nova Scotians who may be out of work, depending on how these threats go forward, need to know that government has a plan to address that. And we haven't heard anything about that so far. We didn't talk about that during the session, and that's what we need to understand. Uranium mining, fracking, we'll see if there's engagement. What we are hearing a real pan on that from many, many Nova Scotians who are concerned about their well water and their property rights. But there's so much we could be doing right now.
I want to ask you about the funding for transition houses in the province and pushing hard for that. Will you look at that situation as a legislator? What do you feel that will make a big difference?
Well, absolutely. So, we have a lot. We know what we need to do. So the Mass Casualty Commission, the Desmond Inquiry, and other reports have told us what needs to happen. And one of the main things is core funding for those organizations on the front lines. That core funding should have come a long time ago. It wasn't even in the budget. They waited until International Women's Day to make an announcement. Look, it's better late than never. I know those organizations, particularly transition houses, are happy with that. But we need to keep our eye on the ball. We now have a federal government with no department for gender or the status of women. We know this is an issue, so that funding is welcome. We really think that funding will make a difference, but we need to make sure that we are vigilant because there's a lot of work to do.
When you look back on this session, what do you take from it? What's the take home for you?
Well, certainly we were surprised at the agenda that came forward, as I said, but I do think we ended the session yesterday with a hopeful sense, because Nova Scotians are paying attention. And people are busy. They're busy with their kids and their lives and their jobs. They don't want to pay attention to politics all the time. We understand that. And yet we also know how important civic engagement is, right? We do this work to reflect the will of the people, to make Nova Scotia the best place it can be. And I think people are remembering that if they use their voice, they can make change. Nova Scotians protested, they wrote emails, they called, and then they immediately saw a change in the agenda of the government. And I think that's a hopeful thing.
We'll leave it on that note. Claudia Gender, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And a footnote to this interview, we asked to speak to Premier Tim Houston about the session of legislature. His office did not reply. In fact, we have repeatedly asked for a sit-down newsmaker interview with the Premier since his government's election last November. All requests have either been unanswered or refused by the Premier's office.
Coming up, auto tariffs. The Canada-U.S. Relations Committee convenes in the face of Trump's latest economic threat.
And renewed hope. After more than a decade, a new search for missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 is underway. Welcome back. Prime Minister Mark Carney has vowed to retaliate against Donald Trump's new tariffs on foreign-made vehicles.
He says Canada must reshape its economy to untether it from the U.S. The CBC's Alexander Silberman has more.
You get a chance to arrange a call with President
Prime Minister Mark Carney pausing his campaign as Liberal leader to hold an emergency cabinet meeting on Parliament Hill.
Our response to these latest tariffs is to fight, is to protect, and to build.
Carney says he will speak with U.S. President Donald Trump in the coming days, promising to protect Canadian workers and the auto industry.
I reject any attempts to weaken Canada, to wear us down, to break us so that America can own us.
On the campaign trail in Coquitlam, BC, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre pitched himself as the best choice to fight back against Trump.
The president would love nothing more to keep the Liberals in power so that he can keep abusing our economy and taking advantage of Canada.
The NDP pivoted their campaign schedule Thursday to meet with union leaders in the heart of Canada's auto sector.
It's a betrayal, and Canadians are angry.
Jagmeet Singh pledged to remove the GST on Canadian-made cars and stop manufacturers from letting any equipment leave the country. Singh also calling for a unified response.
No matter what the makeup of Parliament is, we need to send a clear message, all political leaders, that together, all of us denounce the illegal attacks on our country.
Ontario's premier expects the U.S. to ease auto tariffs after a late-night call with U.S. Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick.
If a car has 50% of American parts in it, that we will face half a tariff. Rather than 25%, it will be 12.5%, which, in my opinion, is not good at all.
Doug Ford says Lutnick claims a reduced tariff rate would avoid plant closures in Canada, but he isn't convinced. A First Minister's call is scheduled for tomorrow to develop a coordinated response. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Ottawa.
As we just heard, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is pledging to waive the GST on all auto sales for vehicles made in Canada.
What we're proposing is that if you buy a Canadian vehicle, we'll waive the GST entirely on that vehicle to incentivize people to buy Canadian. And when we are purchasing vehicles at the federal level, thinking about the RCMP fleet, thinking about the Canada Post and the entire fleet, we need to be buying entirely Canadian-made vehicles with the federal money that we have when we purchase vehicles at the federal level.
Singh spoke in Windsor, Ontario, the epicenter of Canada's auto sector. He was supposed to spend the day campaigning in London, but changed course last minute to meet with auto workers in response to Donald Trump's tariff announcement. Singh also called for an enhancement of employment insurance benefits to help support workers affected by the tariffs.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was in British Columbia announcing a tax measure aimed at encouraging domestic investment. And he also took aim at Donald Trump and the tariffs. But still overshadowing his campaign is the Liberal resurgence. The CBC's Kate McKenna reports.
Pierre Poilievre came to British Columbia looking to pick up seats, but by the end of his news availability today, he was on the defensive. He was asked about polling and why national polls seem to indicate that his once dominant lead has all but disintegrated, with Liberals now taking the lead. And he was also asked about comments made by Doug Ford's campaign manager and longtime Conservative Corey Teneycke, who said that Poilievre doesn't have a firm hand on what he believes is the ballot question, which is Donald Trump's tariff threats. And he also said that Poilievre himself is too much like Trump. Further, he went on to say that Poilievre's team has rebuffed efforts to build bridges between Ford's office and the Conservative leader's office.
After a decade, a lost Liberal decade, with costs and crime up, and the economy down under the American thumb, the president would love nothing more to keep the Liberals in power so that he can keep abusing our economy and taking advantage of Canada.
One thing that has been striking covering this campaign is seeing how many people are coming to Conservative rallies in the evening, while also seeing these slumping polling numbers. And people I've been speaking to point to the dropping numbers in the polls for the NDP and the Bloc Québécois, saying that's what's leading to the Liberal support, not a significant drop in Conservative support. But we know that Stephen Harper won his governments when the NDP was doing better than this. So right now, things are not trending in the direction that the Conservatives would like to see.
Kate McKenna, CBC News, Coquitlam, British Columbia.
Yves-François Blanchet is calling for a wage subsidy to help Canadians hurt by the tariffs. Speaking in a Montreal suburb on Thursday, the Bloc Québécois leader said a wage subsidy would benefit both employers and workers. He called on political leaders of all stripes to work together to establish the subsidy. He said cooperation is critical because the country is facing an existential crisis in the form of an escalating trade war.
Citizens expect their politicians to be above the fray, and when there's a common adversary, to work together and set aside divisions. And everyone at that point can all make a contribution.
Blanchet is calling for Parliament to reconvene the week of April 28th to start discussing a subsidy. This measure was implemented during the pandemic. Businesses that lost a certain percentage of their revenue received a subsidy to help them cover their payroll so they wouldn't have to lay off employees.
European leaders are also criticizing the Trump auto tariffs and promising retaliation. The CBC's Anna Cunningham reports from London.
There has been real anger here in Europe to these latest US tariffs, and the biggest indication has come directly from the French President Emmanuel Macron, who was speaking at a news conference in Paris. And he said, if this has to happen, I will regret it. And of course, the Europeans will protect themselves by reciprocating. Germany, too, is concerned. It is likely to be badly hit. Its three biggest car makers, BMW, Audi and Mercedes-Benz, make up about 3/4 of the EU's automotive exports to the US. German Economy Minister Robert Habeck says, we will support the European Commission efforts to find a solution through negotiations. It is now about delivering a decisive response from the European Union. We must be clear that we will not back down to the US. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has described President Donald Trump's decision as deeply regrettable. In a statement, she says the automotive industry is a driver of innovation, competitiveness and high-quality jobs through deeply integrated supply chains on both sides of the Atlantic. The UK, though, is on its own outside the EU bloc, but not outside these global tariffs. The British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves saying, we don't want to get into a trade war. As for how the European markets have reacted, shares in Frankfurt for Porsche, Mercedes and BMW all fell sharply alongside the French firm Stellantis, the maker of Jeep, Peugeot and Fiat.
It's very hard to put the implications in numbers. But what we do know is that the European car manufacturing sector is already in a weak state. So what now will happen with these announced tariffs is that there will be additional pressure.
The EU now says it will respond in a manner that is timely and robust, but I think the message to the US is already clear from Europe. They are saying that this is not the time for tariffs. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
6 people from Russia are dead after a sightseeing submarine sank off the coast of Egypt's Red Sea. 50 people were on board, 5 crew and tourists from several countries. As seen in video from one of the fleet's vessels, the sub could descend 25 meters to view corals and other marine life. It follows several incidents hitting Egypt's Red Sea tourism industry over the last year, with 3 boats sinking or capsizing.
More than a decade after the mysterious disappearance of a passenger jet over the Indian Ocean, a new search is about to begin. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished from radar on its way to China in March of 2014. The plane, its crew, and its passengers have never been seen since. As the CBC's Johanna Wagstaff tells us, one company is certain new technology will help them find the wreckage.
It's been 11 years since the disappearance of Flight MH370, but one company is so sure they can find the wreckage, they put $70 million on the line. Let me jog your memory. Malaysia Flight 370 vanished in 2014, 239 people on board. But after years of searching, the official investigation was called off in 2018. Now, a seabed exploration company called Ocean Infinity believes they can finally locate the missing plane. Now, they were involved in the initial search, but have since upgraded their tools. Okay, before we get into the specs, why trust Ocean Infinity? Well, in recent years, this company has found multiple lost submarines, including a U.S. Navy ship that had been underwater for 78 years. So what kind of technology are we talking about here? Instead of using just one submersible, they'll deploy a fleet of autonomous underwater vehicles that are all capable of diving down to 6,000 meters and scanning for 100 hours at a time. Each one is equipped with advanced sonar equipment, using acoustic pulses to look for echoes on the sea floor. If a possible target is found, high-resolution cameras and lights take over, capturing detailed images. The data is then sent back to a 78-meter support vessel where the images are stitched together and analyzed. Check out the level of detail on one of the previous subs they found. One of the biggest game changers since their last MH370 search, advancements in robotics and analysis. So we had sonar before, but now with each vehicle covering its own patch of seafloor, they can cover a lot more ground, a lot faster, and with greater detail. It'll take about 18 months to search an area about double the size of the Greater Toronto Area in the southern Indian Ocean. That's the location investigators believe MH370 went down. Over the years, some suspected pieces of debris have washed up on the shores along the Indian Ocean. If Ocean Infinity succeeds, it won't just be a breakthrough in aviation history. It could provide some closure to the families of the passengers who have waited 11 years for answers.
That story from the CBC's Johanna Wagstaff in Vancouver.
U.S. tariffs and threats to sovereignty are causing some breweries to start making all Canadian beers.
Our CBC team dropped by a couple of Newfoundland beer manufacturers to hear about their newest libations made with all Canadian ingredients. Have a look.
Elbows Up. It's an ale, a lagered ale that we have. It's a brand new beer and done specifically to kind of reflect the times that we're in. At first we had looked at doing kind of anti-American beer, but as opposed to being anti, we decided that we really wanted to do something more positive. I wanted to do more patriotic beer. My wife had watched Saturday Night Live and saw Mike Myers do the Elbows Up thing. So right away she said, we're doing an Elbows Up beer. So we talked to our brewmaster. We decided that we were going to do a lagered ale because it's kind of the best of both worlds. The label itself, we want it to be very patriotic, so what's more patriotic than two hockey players? So we've got, we were inspired by the Four Nations Hockey Cup, and so our label depicts a Canadian player laying the elbows up on an American player. We believe in our sovereignty. Sovereignty is a very big belief in Canada. You know, if you want to come after us and try to bring us into the corner, we're going to come back with our elbows up. So that's kind of where that came from.
This is our Canadian Pale Ale. As you can see, it has this gorgeous artwork done by Perfect Day here in St. John's, Newfoundland. The inspiration that we kind of gave to them when we were asking about this label was Group of Seven portrait, or sorry, Group of Seven landscape, which I think they did a beautiful job capturing. And this beer uses Canadian grain and hops, all grown in Quebec, and is just a delicious, easy drinking pale ale.
At this moment, why is it so important to have this all Canadian made beer?
I think right now everyone is feeling scared and frustrated and also just annoyed at what's going on across the border. And everybody just wants to celebrate something nice. And beer is nice. And so we all just want to drink a beer and celebrate our farmers, enjoy our Canadian grains, our Canadian hops, and also our Canadian manufacturers. So we wanted to create a beer that could resonate with all of that. And so we made On Guard. And it's just, yeah, it's a nice little beer and you can drink it and just enjoy our country.
Canada's main stock index ended today unchanged after a day earlier, while U.S. markets were down a day after U.S. President Donald Trump announced plans for auto tariffs. Let's take a look at those numbers as we head to break. Well, that was impressive. The picture that you had earlier tonight from the Antigonish area, where it was a sizable amount of snow. We got the dusting here, more or less.
That's
but, wow,
true. And you know, some people still love the snow. I know winter's over, but there are those folks who just like to make the most of it, right?
It's true. You're truly dedicated, though, if this time of year, after all of this snow, you still want to go out and make a snowman. And have a look at this picture as we zoom in to another spot that got quite a bit of snow last night, of course, Cape Breton, Inverness Beach, and this picture with
lonely snowman.
A lonely
He
snowman.
looks pretty happy, doesn't he?
It is.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm hanging
He's got
on.
a great view there of the water. It's gorgeous.
Well, you should turn around, right?
Yeah, he came around with a smile to get the camera.
It's true. But good for Bev for getting out there and building a snowman on the beach, because, hey, why not? Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Have a look at the timeline again. More flakes flying for Inverness Beach and across northern parts of the province through this evening and into the overnight. That's where we'll have our best chance of seeing some light accumulation, a couple of centimeters certainly possible. And as I mentioned earlier, with temperatures nearing the freezing mark by Friday morning across the board, even if you're not seeing flakes, things could be a little bit icy to start Friday morning. So just a heads up on that. Into the afternoon, you can see temperatures quite mild. This front moving through with some showers, maybe a few wet flakes mixing in over higher terrain areas, though most likely to be showers with these types of temperatures, 5, 6, 7, even 8 degrees possible ahead of the front. And then we're looking at a temperature drop for Friday night into Saturday. And you can see Saturday much cooler, 0 to 2 in many cases, even below the freezing mark likely for Cape Breton and into the North Shore on Saturday afternoon. And again, we've been talking about this frontal boundary just off to the south on Saturday, which will edge in, looks like, to the Tri-County area. Queens, perhaps as far north as Lunenburg, may see some light accumulation on Saturday, but a sharp cutoff and maybe just a few flakes as far north as Halifax and eastern areas of the valley. High pressure settling in, keeping us quiet through Sunday, but a big mess building off to the west. That will roll in for Sunday night into Monday, though it will change to rain by Monday morning for most of us.
All right, thanks for that, Ryan. Well, if you're a tulip fan, you may want to consider a trip to India soon. The flowers at Asia's largest tulip garden are now in full bloom.
Yes, the Indira Gandhi Memorial Tulip Garden sprawls over some 30 hectares. It was established in 2007 to boost tourism in the area in the spring.
It has since become a major attraction in Indian Kashmir, drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors annually.
Beautiful.
To say that's impressive, at least. That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.